At the beginning of the drama, we see a little girl with her father who was explaining to her, there are 3 great gods who control the world. Water god, sky god approaches him, bringing a message from the head priest. The servant says, if you want to become the king, you must find 3 stones. These stones are in the possession of gods on earth. To help him, the servant gives him a map. Habakkuk, who is the water god, prepares to go to earth and takes his servant Namsiri along with him, as Namsiri has been to earth before. On the other hand, we see the female lead, Soa, who is a psychiatrist. She faces several problems while working with a mental health patient, but her friend helps her. Later, she goes out for a meal with her friend where he says, here's a long list of bills, her clinic, and house rent. After this, Soa finds a diamond ring while digging, which was given to her by her ex-boyfriend. She thinks, I'll sell this ring to pay my house rent and move to a better country far away from here. Just then, she looks up at the sky and sees a shooting star. She begins to pray, and at that moment, the water god knows nothing about human life. Habakkuk then wears Soa clothes. When he sees her unconscious, he uses his powers to revive her and leaves. Upon regaining consciousness, Soa notices that her apron and diamond ring are missing. And I've also lost the map. Let's go back. Namuri replies, to return, we need to go to a special place. He adds, but told him a thief. He approaches her, assumes that Habakkuk is a mental patient, and says, here's my psychiatrist card, before leaving. In the next scene, Namsuri returns to Habakkuk and takes him to another place. Pointing towards a children's tent, he says, we will have to stay here tonight. We will leave tomorrow morning. The next morning, location. Suddenly, Habakkuk notices humans holding mobile phones. He asks Namsiri, what are these humans holding? Namsiri replies, I don't know, but it doesn't look like something to eat. Then he says, I'm very hungry. Habakkuk responds, you can eat once we return. On the other side, Soa decides to sell her property, Siri, into her car. On the way, the car runs out of fuel. Namsiri says, you both wait here, I'll get the fuel. While walking, Soa spots a wild boar. They hide in the car's trunk. The boar pounds on the trunk, causing Soa to panic and hug Habakkuk. Soa grabs her and kisses her. Siri arrives, pulls Habakkuk away, and takes him with him. Soa screams loudly. Namsiri explains to Habakkuk that on Earth, doing anything against a woman's will is a crime. He then stops Habakkuk from going back to Soa. Meanwhile, Soa is shown at home thinking about Habakkuk's kiss and seeing it everywhere around her. The next morning, Namo and Habakkuk are heading to Soa's clinic. On the way, they see a roller skating competition with a cash prize for the winner. Namsiri tells Habakkuk, you should participate in this competition. When you win, we will get a lot of money so that we can buy food. Habakkuk agrees. Then Habakkuk starts skating and impresses everyone with his roller skating skills. Soa also arrives there and watches him skate. Habakkuk notices her, and Soa, seeing this, runs away. Habakkuk follows her on roller skates, but Soa manages to escape. Habakkuk thinks Soa has remembered everything, that she is the servant of a god, so he goes to meet her. Habakkuk and Namsiri take a taxi towards Soa's clinic. On the way, Habakkuk tells the driver, from here, I will drive. Hearing this, the taxi driver drops them right there. They then take another taxi and reach Soa's clinic, where she is already standing outside. While crossing the road, she encounters Habakkuk and Namiri. Habakkuk says, I know you've remembered everything because you're the servant of a god. Now arrange food and a place for us to stay for us." Soa thinks Habeck is crazy, so she pulls Namsiri aside and tells him to get Habeck properly treated. But Namsiri pleads with Soa for help, saying, "We don't even have food or a place to stay, so please help us." Soa replies, "I live in a rented house myself. I can't help you." Then she goes to Habeck and says, "Don't follow me after this. If you do, I will file a police complaint against you." She then leaves. Soa then visits her landlord and requests a reduction in rent, but the landlord tells her to leave the property instead. Another man named Shin is sitting there and observing Soa's situation, realizes she doesn't have money. Later, when Soa is near the elevator, Shin meets her and forgives all her debts. Soa wonders, all this is happening because of Habeck and Namsiri. I didn't help them, and now maybe their curse is affecting me. On the other side, Habeck and Namsiri are traveling on a train. A child sitting in front of Habeck is eating something. Watching this affects Habeck negatively because he never used to feel hunger before, but seeing the child eat, he starts to feel hungry. He controls himself and turns his head away. Meanwhile, a girl nearby is listening to a song by a famous actress Murha on her mobile. Upon seeing Murha,
but he cannot do anything. The train leaves and Namuri remains on board. After the train departs, Habeck notices a man on the opposite platform. This man is the same person whose illness Soa had been treating. The man recognizes Habeck because he is also from the same planet. The two of them return to Habeck's tent, where the man brings Habeck a lot of food. Meanwhile, Soa is searching for Habeck and Namsiri. She then comes across a social media post by the man, which also features Habeck. Seeing this, Soa understands where Habeck is. She immediately goes there to meet him. When Soa arrives, the man, seeing her, is frightened and shouts, "If anyone comes near me, I will jump into the water." Soa tries to explain to him, but he does not listen and jumps into the water. Soa asks Habeck to save him, and Habeck gives his food to Soa, saying, "Keep this for me until I return." Then Habeck jumps into the water to save the man. For a long time, Habeck and the man do not come out of the water, which causes Soa to become anxious and sit there crying. Then she remembers that she too once tried to commit suicide by jumping into the water in the same way. Remembering this, Soa cries even more. Then Habeck comes out with the man, saying, "I have saved him." Soa goes to the man and tries to bring him back to consciousness. Habeck that his food is on the ground, and seeing this becomes very angry. He says to Soa, "This was Namsuri's food, and you dropped it on the ground. Namsuri is very hungry now. What will he eat?" Soa brings the man to consciousness, and then becoming emotional, embraces Habeck. Habeck is stunned. The next morning, Soa is drying clothes inside her home, and she hears the sounds of the trees talking. Hearing these sounds, Soa becomes very frightened. Later, she begins to hear the sounds of small things, which make her even more disturbed. Soa puts cotton in her ears, but she still hears the sounds. Seeing all this, Soa becomes very stressed and tries to understand what is happening. And because of all this, Soa does not sleep all night in his tent eating. He's eating very quickly when a beggar comes to him. Habeck, seeing him, hides his food and turns his face away. There, she has not slept all night, so dark circles have appeared under her eyes. Seeing the dark circles under her eyes, Habeck asks her what happened. Soa says, "It's all because of you." Habeck asks, "Because of me? But how?" Then, Soa begins to tell him something, but her leg twists and she begins to fall. Habeck catches her hand and supports her. Then Habab says, "Today I was thinking about you all day." Soe pulls her hand away and asks, "So, what were you thinking about me?" Then Habak says that you are very stupid. Soe is somewhat surprised because she was expecting something different from him. After that, she leaves the place. In the next scene, Soe is on her way to her college reunion party. However, she is extremely tired, so she feels exhausted and sits down for a moment. Just then, Shin arrives and offers her a lift. Soe gets into his car, and they both reach the party. At the party, Soa meets an old college friend who is saying a lot of negative things about her. Soe silently listens. But when the friend says, "Your dad used to help everyone, yet he left you all alone," Soe becomes furious and starts arguing with her. During the argument, the friend grabs So's dress, tearing it. Soe then says, "Now everyone must have realized what a horrible person you are." She leaves the party, and after her departure, everyone criticizes the friend for her behavior. When Soe steps outside, the same friend follows her. Just as she is about to say something, Habak arrives and stops her. He says, "Soe is with me. You won't say anything to her. If you do, it won't be good for you." At that moment, others gather around and start recording Habak and the friend on their phones. Embarrassed, the friend leaves without saying anything. Habak then approaches Soe and puts his coat around her shoulders to make her feel comfortable. HBC calls for a taxi and helps Soe into it. Seeing this, Namsuri is shocked and says Habak has never put in this much effort for anyone before, but now he's doing it for Soe. The three of them then get into the taxi and return to their place. Once they arrive, Soe gives Habak his coat back. Irritated, Habak says, "You humans don't even know how to say thank you. The water god helped you and you're leaving without saying anything." Soe replies, "What do you want?" Habak then takes her to a mobile shop and says, "Buy phones for me and Namsuri." Soe doesn't have enough money to buy expensive phones, so she purchases cheap ones for them. Later, Habak and Namsuri sit outside the shop looking at their phones while Samaya observes their reactions. Feeling confused, later the three of them head to the lakeside. Habak says to Soe, "Help me find the gods. I figured out where they are, but you need to take me there. After that, I'll send you back quickly." Soe agrees. The next day, Habak and Soe arrive at a hotel. Outside the hotel, Habak asks Soe to wait in the car, saying, "Stay here. I'll go inside and finish my work." Inside the hotel, Habak sees Mora during her shoot. He becomes very excited because he knows she is a god. While waiting in the car, Soe sees Shin arrive. He asks her, "What are you doing here?" Soe replies, "I came here for some work." Shin tells her, "This hotel belongs to me, and a famous actress, Mura, is shooting inside." Hearing this, Soe is shocked and nervous because she thinks also overpower her and start hitting her. Seeing this, Habak becomes extremely angry and starts fighting with the guards. Mura sits away with him. After they leave, Mura calls the second god, Huey, and explains the situation. She tells Huey replies, "Handle him for now, I'll figure out what to do." Meanwhile, Soe takes Habak and Namsuri to a building and tells them there's another god here who can help them. Soe goes inside and meets her friend, requesting her to lie to Habak and pretend to be a god. Habak meets the friend and they start talking. However, after some time, Habak realizes she's not a real god and says, "I know you're not a real god, leave this place." When the friend leaves, she calls Soe and says, "Habak found out I'm not a real god, I'm leaving, you handle him now, need me." Hearing this, Soe becomes very sad and apologizes, but Habak doesn't listen to her and tells her to leave. When Soe walks away, as she's going down the stairs, a man covers her mouth and drags her to the terrace, attempting to push her off. Soe tries her best to save herself.
Meanwhile, Namsuri is downstairs using his new phone. When he looks toward the terrace, he sees someone trying to push So-A off the terrace. Namsuri immediately calls Habak. Habak sees the call, but doesn't know how to answer it. He keeps tapping on Namsuri's name.
When he turns around, he sees Soa being pushed off the terrace. Shocked, he drops his phone and runs, jumping out of the window. At that moment, his powers activate and he saves Soa from falling. Once they are on the ground, Soa is in shock and speechless upon seeing Havok powers.